Okay, so today let's start with a quick recap. This is our third session. So just, 5 minutes. What do we remember from the last time? What did we
The
do the
last
last time?
time we spoke about we started off by talking about Kodak, how Kodak was very unsuccessful. Then we moved on to talking about prioritizing values. We spoke about delivering what has the highest value first.
Mm-hmm.
Then we also spoke a bit on backlog system, where you actually prioritize the work that needs to be done. Once we were talking about that, we also mentioned over engineering and pet features.
Good.
Then we moved on to Pareto principles, where we spoke about putting in 20% effort and getting about 80% results. We also spoke about the genesis of Agile, where we mentioned the 4 values and 12 principles. And then we had a group session, looking at the values, principles, and then matching the principles with the values.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that recap. That was practically everything we covered. Thank you very much. Today, I'm going to leave the naming of our team to I'll leave it till the end. So hopefully maybe a couple more people might join us so that we can all participate in what our name is going to be going forward. I mean, it seems like, not that important, but it is quite important. And the process is actually what I'm interested in, not so much the name. So you'll see what I mean when we get to that point much later. And I will also leave this one till later since we're doing the name, towards the end. So we'll come back to it. So we have talked about what Agile is. We know that as opposed to the waterfall where you deliver value at the end, that it is incremental, it is iterative, and that we run in short sprints. And because we run in short sprints, we get feedback quickly. And we are going to have a short activity on that as well. And because, can we mute ourselves now? Thank you very much. Can we all mute ourselves? And because we are running in short sprints, it means that when things change, we can change very quickly. We can minimize our risk and we can be much more responsive. So take, for example, you've asked me to make 1,000 cups, orange cups for you. And I've decided, you know what, every 2 weeks, I'm going to deliver 20 cups. Now, remember, we need 1,000 cups. So if I deliver purple cups in the first 2 weeks, and then you come back to me and say, oh, Mary, please stop delivering them, stop producing purple cups. I now want orange cups. As you can see, I have only produced 20 purple cups. So we have minimized wastage, we have minimized the risk, and we are responding to the changes in the environment. Now, once this sprint is over with the purple cups, the next sprint we're going to start producing orange cups. Because that is what the customer needs now. That is what the customer's market environment is demanding. If the market wants orange cup, you don't want to put purple cups out there. You ain't going to sell jack. So that is the whole point of Agile, okay? Pivot, ability to pivot as soon as business needs change, okay? Agile is time boxed. We call it we call it a sprint because it is time boxed. So is it 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks? I've worked at the with a company that did 3-week sprint. But 2 weeks is the most popular, okay? And it's incremental. And we have cross-functional teams and self-organizing teams to do this. So which means they have all the skills that they need in the team. And we are using Agile in a volatile environment. Remember, I said Agile is not a silver bullet, and that even in a volatile environment, if you have delivered something, and if you remember, I used the iPhone as an example. If you have already delivered something in the past and your customer wants that same thing again, then you don't need Agile for it because the requirements are already known. The inputs are already known. The outputs are already known, and you know what they want. So you just go in and deliver that with the waterfall, and have them have their outputs, their deliverables. So that is easy. So when we put the agile waterfall, the waterfall and agile, side by side, this is what you get. You get your deliverable at the end of maybe 6 months or 9 months for agile, but with waterfall, beg your pardon, but with agile, you get incremental deliverables. Incremental deliverables. So which means this first deliverable here is usable. It's called an MVP, and it is usable. It's a minimum viable product or a minimum marketable product. You will hear different terms out there. Minimum viable product, which means if I deliver this to the customer, it should be useful to the customer. If this is a product I put out there for users, like the iPhone, then it must have all the functionality for the users. It must be functional. You cannot give a product to a user and that product cannot be used or it cannot be sold. So it's either minimum marketable product or minimum viable product. Bear that in mind. So this is what it looks like in picture when you put them side by side. And of course, I already used the iPhone as an example. And as you can see, the 2G is functional, the 3G is functional, and on and on and on. Although each time you have more functionality. That's what you're doing. Each time you have more functionality because you are getting a product, you're getting features out there as quickly as possible. So what I want to do now, I'm going to put you in a group. So let me do that just now. I want you guys to analyze these two pictures here. So bear with me, give me a second, and I'm going to put you in a group. Somebody said they're unable to see my screen, so let me do a new share. Can you see my screen now? Can everybody see my screen? Was I just talking without the screen showing?
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, I can see as well.
Oh, I thought everybody couldn't see that I was just talking away. Okay, please stay muted. Okay,
sorry,
cool.
Mary, sorry, I can't see it. I'm just seeing it. It's very tiny. It's very.
You should change your. You should change the way. Is it me you're seeing or the screen?
No, I can't. I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing the screen, but I can barely see what is on the screen.
Wow. Are you using your phone or a desktop?
No, I'm using my laptop.
Then switch it. Maybe you need to do a switch. Put your cursor over your picture. Maybe.
Right, okay.
There's sometimes there's a switch you need to do to make sure you are seeing what should.
All right, fantastic. Yes.
Good. Okay. So that's always the problem. Yes. Okay. So now you know.
All right,
okay. So let me just be sure what someone's chatting here. Okay. Cool. Okay. Cool. So let me put you in. Where's my? Where's the room feature? Why is it not showing? This Zoom sometimes just does what it likes. Normally the room feature is here. But for some reason, I can't see the, okay, there you go, found it. Okay, so I'm going to put you in, let me see, should I break it into two? Manually, create rooms. Okay, I'm going to break you into two. So I'm going to put Deji, Daily, Donald, Felicia, Sylvia in one room. And then Grace, Henry, Ndudi, Shola, Tunde in the other room. Ah, no, there's a problem. No, it won't work. It won't work. Let me cancel it. It won't work. Okay, can we unmute ourselves? The room won't work because then how do you see the the picture? Let's just do it together. Next, I should have asked someone to just take a picture. Let's just unmute ourselves and do it together. Okay, so please tell me, what's wrong with this picture here? Who wants to go? What's wrong with the picture?
In the first one, the first part of it, it's not usable until the end. The end product is what gives them, is the result.
Okay,
But
cool.
in the second one, at each stage, they have a valuable thing they can use. The first one doesn't have that many functions, but by the second one, like a scooter, you can ride a scooter, you can ride a bicycle, you can ride a cycle, and then a car. So you have a product at each stage.
Okay, do we agree with Dele?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, what else is going on here? What else is going on?
I think it's a series of sprints, and the first sprint has delivered not a minimum viable product, but it's delivered something towards that, and the next one as well. So the only one the orange one seems to have succeeded in delivering something that's usable, viable, and it progresses until the end. Okay. So I suppose this is to show us that sometimes perhaps the first sprint will not deliver a minimum viable product, but it will deliver a part of it.
Okay. I think also it's just that the sense of incremental value. So from skateboard to the scooter to the bicycle to the motorbike to the car, right?
Incremental, yes. Yeah. Incremental, functional.
You just said that every product has to be functional. So in the second picture, we've got the sliding thing that is functional. You've got the scooter, it's a functional product, the bike. So all 5 products have functionality, even though the first one is minimum, it's still marketable and has a value.
Fantastic way to put it, Sylvia. Thank you. And what else is going on in the upper part, the red part?
Then I think looking at the customer satisfaction, in the first one, you could see that not until the last item is delivered, the customer was never satisfied. Okay. But on the second one, you can see how, as they move along, the satisfaction derived from the customer is increasing.
Okay, cool. There is more.
I see the first one as representing the orange part as representing the waterfall methodology. Yeah, that's the way I want to interpret it. Why the second one represents agile. At every stage, at every point in time, there is a minimum viable product that is usable.
Fantastic. Fantastic. What else could possibly be going on here? At the top, at the bottom, what else can you tell me that is representative of maybe waterfall environment or agile environment? What's going on?
In terms of the product as well, we can see that probably the model is changing. So maybe I just want something basic, as simple as a bicycle. But over time, the customer demands is changing, so it's getting more sophisticated. That's why you have a car at the end of the day.
In terms of the agile way of working, what is happening more, at the bottom that is not happening at the top?
It's the face of the vendor.
More interaction with the customer, I think.
Yeah, so there's feedback.
There's clarity. Yeah, there's clarity of what the customer wants.
Fantastic. Those were the 2 things I was looking for at this point. Clarity, feedback. Very, very important. Just yesterday, was it yesterday? Yes, yesterday. Or was it Thursday? I can't remember now. Thursday. I had an interview, and one of the questions was, we have a marketing team. And quite often, the marketing team, they are the ones that are interfacing with the customers, But there's usually like a gap between the communication between the marketing team and the Scrum team. And you will find this a lot out there, especially in software development, where, you know, we have a marketing team, especially if it's a big organization. So they are doing all the marketing, running around, trying to get, you know, the requirements. And then sometimes they are not quite communicating well with the Scrum team. And then sometimes if it's not a really big organizations, you actually have the marketers embedded in the Scrum team. So you find that there's issue with clarity, there's issue with communication. And this is where sometimes design thinking comes in. So which might signify your sprint zero, so to speak, where all the critical stakeholders come together to make sure we understand what the customer wants. But of course, even after that, we are still interacting with the customer and making sure that all this information is filtered down, is communicated downwards into the product backlog so that we are building the right thing. So feedback is critical. That's why we talk about working incrementally, working in short cycles, so that once it, because look at it this way, if we are not on track, then we can know immediately, okay? And then another thing that I was hoping you would say is that it's not just so much about what is delivered, but the experience, but the solution. So if you were to give this a name, I mean, it's already up there, it's a mobility solution, right? Can we call this a mobility solution?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
Mobility solution. We're trying to move from point A to point B. We need something to help us move. So it's a mobility solution. So if I get one wheel, I probably can't do much movement with one wheel. But if I get this kind of skateboard, yes, it can probably move me. I mean, it should move me from point A to B. I can move with this. I can move with that. So we are providing an experience here to our customers. And that was why when we talked about organizations that had gone bust, we talked about Uber, we talked about hotels, Airbnb. The hotels predominantly still had the thinking that they were, you know, renting out rooms, instead of them looking at what experience are we offering our customers. So we must always ask ourselves, what is the solution we are offering and what experience do we want our customers to actually, do we want to offer to our customers? What are they looking for? What will distinguish us in our market from our competitors? It's about the experience. It's more than what you are offering in terms of your products. You go into a salon, it's more than doing your hair. It's about the relationship you get with the people in the salon, how well they greet you when you come in, you know, the conversations going on. It's more than going for a haircut for the guys. Okay? It's all more than that. So the experience, the solution, the interaction that's constantly going back and forth. And do we remember the first value of the manifesto? Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Working software, customer collaboration. That's all happening in here. And when it's not happening, it becomes obvious. And then if we look at the top one, it's, someone said waterfall. That's what it looks like. And it didn't matter whether the first one was functional or not, because they seemed to be walking the waterfall away. Okay, so it didn't matter if it was functional or not. But what you will also find is that the value was delivered much later, like I showed you in that picture. But here, you're already getting value. So if this was something that was to generate money, so take, for example, I needed this scooter to move things from point A to B because I have to deliver stuff to the customer. I can already deliver stuff to my customer with this scooter here, with this skateboard or scooter. So which means already I'm getting value. Already I'm making money. Already I have a return on investment. That's the, you know, value that is being delivered early and frequently. So value was delivered here early. Again, value was delivered maybe another 2-week sprint, or maybe it's a 1-month sprint, depending on what they are doing. But each time value is delivered, and the value that is delivered is usable. So thank you for that analysis. That's what I was looking for.
Sorry, Mary.
Yes.
If we just go back to the
okay
slide. We've delivered value, obviously, from the second picture, but the usage of a scooter, for example, will seem to be limited to the youngsters. Yeah, would we have defined users at the requirement gathering stage?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
In other words, are we saying it's children that are using this one at this stage and then teenagers using this one, something like that? That is a very good observation. But this picture here is just to show you functionality. But I totally get what you're saying. And it depends on what you're delivering. Okay, so context matters here. But what's more important here for me is your understanding of what this means in terms of value delivery, in terms of iterative development, in terms of interaction constantly with the customer. Once you understand that, it doesn't matter what is happening in terms of the context you find yourself in. And that is why when we coach and train, we need to take you away from any specific context. Do you get it? Because the context, for example, we have about 10 people here. If you were all to get a job as a Scrum Master tomorrow, you will find yourself in very different context. And it wouldn't matter what context you find yourself in, this knowledge is then applicable because it is not context specific. Do you get it? It is not context specific. And because you're interacting with the customer constantly, you're able to then capture what the customer needs. Okay? Deji, for some reason, some funny noise comes from your end, as if somebody is.
I know.
Is drilling, as if somebody is drilling through the wall.
It's probably my. I think it's probably my ceiling fan.
Ah, okay,
Yes,
possibly.
Yes. Let me try to turn it off.
It always comes from you. It always comes from you. Okay, so thank you everyone for that contribution. Amazing contributions. It shows me that you are on your way to becoming an agilist. Fantastic. Now, this is so important given that we're still talking about requirements. Now, take a minute and look at this picture. Again, let's have a discussion around it. And let's see what our thinking is around this. So take a minute and have a look. The first picture says how the customer explained it. The second one, how the project leader understood it. The third, how the analyst designed it. How the programmer wrote it. How the business consultant described it. How the project was documented. What operations installed. How the customer was billed. How it was supported. And then what the customer really needed. How interesting is this? How interesting is this? So let's fire away. What's presenting itself here to us?
Communication, collaboration, lack of.
Poor communication.
Poor collaboration, because they should all have sat together at some point and been able to illustrate what they felt with the customer around, and so that they could come to the right product.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anybody else?
Basically, I think it's communication. The team really did not understand what the customer really wanted. They had their own understanding of what they wanted, but not what the customer wanted. So I think they didn't factor in the customer's requirements into their design. They just designed what they felt was appropriate.
Okay. Another person, please. Let's all have a go.
Yeah, and I think also they didn't get approval at every stage from the customer. If not, they would have stopped by the time the analyst was designing it. The customer would have said, no, that's not what I was asking.
Okay. Anybody else?
If you look at what
I think feedback was missing.
Sorry.
Okay, Dele.
I think the feedback, that there was feedback was missing in the process.
Okay. Sylvia?
Yeah, clear lack of communication and clarification, because if you look at what the customer had explained initially and what the customer really needed at the end, there's a vast difference there. So clearly, throughout the process, there hasn't been clarification, there hasn't been, the customer hasn't been understood. And it's very clear in the pictures.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? I want everybody to have a go. Who hasn't spoken?
I think we are clearly seeing the two different approaches, waterfall approach and the agile approach here. So basically, obviously the project team probably use the waterfall approach to handle this.
Okay.
Well, they should have gone for the other one.
Okay. Who else hasn't spoken?
I have not spoken, but for some reason, I'm not able to see what is written, what were the captions on the
okay
pictures. Yeah, I think
okay
we may have to just.
Okay, let me read it out. How the customer explained it.
No, it's the second one that matters.
The bottom row.
Oh, okay, the bottom one. Okay. How the project manager documented it. What operations installed. How the customer was billed in terms of payment. How it was supported. What the customer really wanted. So this last one here, this simple thing here with the tire was what the customer actually wanted.
Okay.
So what's your contribution? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, I thought I lost my connection. Sorry.
It's interesting how they came up with the bill for for like an amusement park. Like far more expensive than what was. So clearly communication was a problem here, and collaboration. They had to come together to have gotten the end result, but that seemed to have been the problem. They didn't come together. So it's basically what everybody has said. So clarity again was lost here.
Okay. And like someone said, Tabi, were you going to say something, Tabi?
I'm going to say that, well, from an advertising point of view, because I had worked in advertising, we operate from the standpoint of briefing. Yeah, and I think that's what happens to in Agile. Here, if we don't get a good brief, we might not be able to execute what the client wanted. So I think there's a lack of communications here.
Like everybody else
has not been given, so to say.
Yeah, and if you give the brief, if you're working Agile, at least you wouldn't go too far before you correct anything that's wrong. Do you see?
True. Yeah.
You wouldn't go too far. And this is where you minimize your risk. This is where you minimize wastage. This is where you save your reputation. This is where you prevent your development team from being, what's the word I'm looking for? This is where you stop them from, losing motivation, so to speak. Because the joy of people who develop stuff is that their creativity is out there. They don't want to develop something and it's not usable, or because some, requirements have not been communicated clearly to them. And this is why historically, developers are glued to their computer screen. They don't interact with people. They are just give me the requirement, let me code it. Okay. So if I'm a developer and you give me a requirement to code a chair, I'm going to give you a chair, right?
Right.
Because that's the requirement you've given me to code a chair. If you give me a requirement to code a table, I'm going to code a table. And this is why you would end up with something like this. Customer asks for A, but you delivered B. But in the Agile environment, we are now saying the developers matter. In as much as they are the one coding, in fact, they really do matter. And they should be there at the beginning when we are talking about the requirements. Because they are the one that's going to build it. The developers are going to build this spec. So why are they not part of the conversation? They should be part of the conversation from the beginning. Because when we sit down together in that brainstorming room and we are trying to understand these requirements in order for us to come up with our roadmap is all the things we have to do in order to deliver this product. Okay, can you mute yourselves now? All the things we have to do to deliver this product, we are talking about it. The developers should be a part of that conversation because the testers should be a part of that conversation. So in other words, everybody in the development team should be part of that, requirements elaboration meeting. Because as a tester, I can then ask questions from the perspective of a tester. As a developer, I will begin to ask questions because I'm the one that's going to code it. Okay, you want me to make a chair. what is the weight of the person that's going to sit on the chair? Do you get it? How wide or how slim should the chair be? I begin to ask questions because I'm the one that will code that chair. I'm asking those questions from the perspective of a developer. If I'm a user experience person or user interface person, we are developing a website. I'm asking questions because I want that website to be user-friendly. Remember, we're not just delivering products and services here. We're delivering an experience where we want our users to have a beautiful and a lovely experience using our products and services. So from a UI, user interface professional perspective, I'm asking those questions. From the point of view of user experience, I'm also asking those questions so that we can be sure that we accurately capture the requirements of our users. You see how this is, radically different from Waterfall in terms of stakeholder engagement, in terms of customer and development collaboration. Amazing. Reducing waste, reducing risk, and most importantly, ensuring we are able to delight our customers. I hope that makes sense. Any questions before I move on?
I have a question, Mary.
Go ahead.
When you gave the example of the cups, blue cup, orange cups. Now, if the client, I haven't delivered an MVP of blue cups, for example, and the customer says, or the stakeholder says they prefer an orange or orange cups rather. Would, at that point in time, would the customer or the stakeholders or the owners of the business, would they reject what has been delivered? Would they reject it, what has been delivered initially?
They don't necessarily have to reject it. What's happened here is our needs have changed. Our needs have changed. That's all that's happened here. Okay? And that is why we are able to pivot. We asked for purple cups, but now it's orange. We have to, and because we're in constant communication, we are able to then change. We are able to pivot. Sometimes it may not be as drastic as orange and purple. I'm just using that as an example so you can visualize what I'm trying to say. So how do we pivot? At the end of every 2 weeks, we have what we call a sprint review. So during this review, we're going to come to that soon. During this review, we demo what we have done so far. So let us assume I'm showing you a website and I have used Arial as the font for the website, but your clients prefer it to be Comic Sans because maybe of visual impairment or whatever. Just imagine that kind of example. So when I demo the website to you, immediately you give me a feedback to say, oh, please, can you guys change it to Comic Sans? Arial doesn't work for our end users. Does that make sense? Arial doesn't work for our end users. So we then take that new requirement, we go back into iteration, and then we take the new requirement on board and change the fonts. I think I lost you guys there. Can you guys still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Does that make sense? We will soon come to the iteration, so it will make more sense to you. Don't worry too much about it right now. Okay, Tunde?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. So we have a lot of benefits from the analysis we've just done. We have higher revenue because we deliver value very quickly. There's increased productivity because we are working in sprints and we have better predictability. Quality is higher. If you remember from those two pictures, the quality of the bottom one was better. And it's supposed to be a fun environment because it's an environment where there's psychological safety. And because there's psychological safety, we come to work, fully, so to speak. We come to work fully. It's an environment of visibility. We do a lot of visual management. Visual management meaning we visualize our work. We visualize our work. And this is where the Kanban, this is how it started. It started with Kanban, with the Toyota, okay? And that's one of the reasons Toyota became one of the most successful auto car manufacturers in the world. They were very visible in the way they did things. They were very transparent. They had a no-blame culture. Okay? And when you make work transparent, it means there are no hidden agendas. And when we see that there's a bottleneck, we're able to come together to remove that bottleneck. Okay? Our stakeholders are happy because we're in constant communication with them to make sure we deliver what they really, really want so that they can have the competitive advantage or increased bottom line that they are looking for. Okay? So we take our products quick to market. Our product gets to the market very quickly. These are huge benefits of Agile. Who wouldn't want this as an organization? And these are part of the stories you tell. If somebody is saying, why should I go Agile? But if somebody ever tells you, why should I go Agile? The first question you want to ask is, what are you trying to achieve? Don't just go, oh, Agile can give you quality. It means your product will get to the market fast. You know, it means you have a happy stakeholder. Don't go straight into that. Because remember, I said Agile is not a silver bullet. So don't ever answer that question as if everybody must do Agile, as if Agile answers every single question. No. If they say, okay, why should I go Agile? The first question will be, what are you trying to achieve? What are your challenges? What's your objective? Those two questions is enough. What challenges are you experiencing? What problems are you trying to solve? What are your objectives? Okay, so what you are telling them already is, Agile is not a silver bullet, but hey, if I know what your challenges are, then maybe we can tell if Agile is for you. Otherwise, it will seem like we are promoting Agile all the time, even when Agile is not necessary. And when you do that, you'll be perceived as a textbook Agilist. Grace, you have your hand up. Unmute yourself if you want to ask a question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question. So, you know, when we talk about Agile delivering minimum viable product at each iteration, at the beginning, suppose we have a software development project. At the beginning, I think one of the minimum viable products could be a prototype, such that the customer can see what your plan is. I'm thinking that because if you're developing a website, what would be the minimum viable product that you could actually
we're actually going to develop a website as part of our simulation.
Okay.
But good point you raised. And I like the fact that you talked about prototype. Just a few seconds ago, I talked about sprint 0. I talked about design sprint. Now, during these design sprints, I mean, some people call it different things. Some people call it design M. Some people call it sprint 0. Some people will call it design workshop, pre-sprint. You'll find different names for it out there, but it essentially means the same thing. And what this means is, before we kick off the actual development, let us have a session where we really come together, all the critical stakeholders, you know, that's going to develop this roadmap. We would have done some high-level road mapping anyway, because in as much as we're working Agile, for example, that picture that I showed you of the scooter and all that, it could have taken them 12 months to eventually get to the car. It could have taken 12 months. But we're working in 2-week sprint, or maybe in 1 month sprint, or whatever the case may be. Now, for before you start the sprint, you already have an idea. You have an idea of what is required on a high level. And that is why we talk about epics at the high level, at the roadmap level. We are talking about epics. Epics are like milestones. So it's like saying at the end of 3 months, we're going to do a release. Maybe we're going to release something at the end of 3 months. Now I'm going to come to that because we're talking about 2-week sprints, but now I'm talking about 3 months release. That will soon make sense to you. So just be patient. So maybe we have a particular milestone and we plan to, at the end of 2 months, release the scooter, for example. I'm just using that as an example now. And then another 3 months, or let me even use a website, that at the end of 3 months, we must have our website for our university. Students must be able to pay. By the end of 3 months, they must be able to do their initial registration online, get their offer online, and be able to pay as our release at the end of the quarter. We have been releasing MVPs. We have been delivering MVP, but we have not released it. So it's not available yet, but we've been delivering it. So You may deliver and not release. Because you see, release is a business decision. And for you to release, there are other things you need to do in order for you to release. But however, at the end of every 2 weeks, you have a minimum viable product. So if I were to change my mind and say, you know what, I'm the product owner, and I'm changing my mind that we're not going to release in 3 months anymore. We're going to release at the end of this sprint. Whatever it is you are releasing is useful. But sometimes we accumulate our MVP. We accumulate them. At the end of every 2 weeks, we have a minimum viable product, but we don't release it. We have another one, we don't release it. We have another one. So you have to make a decision, a business decision. At what point does it make sense to bundle all these MVPs together and release them? Because release has overhead. Imagine a software environment. You're trying to release something into production. There's overhead involved. Things are even better now. If we go back 20 years, in order for you to release into production sometime, you may have to shut the production system down for a whole day or half a day. This is going back 20 years. To release something into production, it is a major thing. You would have sent out messages to say, you know, the server will not be available, the system will not be available because we want to do a release into production. So as you can see, it's a serious matter to say you want to release into production because you can crash the system. And when you crash the system, it comes at a cost. It comes at a huge cost. So it's a business decision. But however, every time you finish your sprint, especially in a software environment, for the most part, it is a minimum viable product. I hope that makes sense. Any question before I move on?
No, it doesn't make sense.
Does it make sense?
No, for me, it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It makes sense for me
because... Say something?
Yeah.
I think it's making sense, but it's also telling us that, or telling me that it is clearly not every project that you would be able to sufficiently see the sprints as a usable product.
I just said it's
contextual. It depends on what the project and the product or whatever its knowledge or whatever is.
Let me use an example we can all understand. Let us assume I take 10 materials to the tailor. Let's assume. And the tailor says it will be ready in 6 weeks. But at the end of 1 week, Sylvia's dress is ready. And we all don't need this dress until the 11th week. I want you to visualize this. I've taken 10 materials to the tailor for 10 of us. And it will be ready in 2 weeks. I'm just taking numbers now to make it easy for me to explain. 10 materials to the tailor, and the tailor has just told me this will be ready in 10 weeks. But we don't need it until the 11th week, okay? Which makes sense. You want your dress to come before the party. At the end of the first week, one is ready. Sylvia's dress is ready. At the end of the second week, Felicia's dress is ready. At the end of the 4th week, and so on and so forth. Does it make sense for me to go every week to collect for one person? Or can I wait till the 10th week to collect everything?
Well, it depends.
It depends.
It depends on what the customer wants. Anyway.
Which is why it's a business decision. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why it's a business decision. Yeah. So the decision could be, there's no need for me to come and collect it one by one. At the end of the 10th week, because maybe we are all living in the same place, one person will go at the end of the 10th week, collect it, or the tailor is going to come and deliver it to us. Okay? Something like that. I'm just trying to use something you can visualize.
Yeah, but if they need adjustment, how are you going to manage that?
That's why I said I'm just using that as an example.
Okay, that's
for the business part. Because look at it this way: if the tailor is going to be bringing it one by one, there's cost involved. Exactly. And you see, the way I'm explaining this thing, I don't want you to attach it to a particular context. I need you to get that.
Yeah.
Don't attach this communication to a particular. Look at it in an abstract way.
Yeah.
So how will you think when you now find yourself in that situation is what matters. And this is where the individuals and interactions over processes and tools comes in. What will be the conversation going on between the development team, between the product owner and between the business. Because remember, the business needs these updates in production. It is the business that needs these features to be released in production. They are the one taking all the customer service calls. They are the one having problems with customer service. And they are the ones that have requested that something is slow, something is not working properly, but they are the one working in this production environment. So the people working in this production environment, in other words, the business, they have to do what we call a trade-off. Do you get it now?
Mm-hmm.
They have to do what we call a trade-off. Okay, they complained that a particular feature needs to be updated. They now have to think of the best time to update that feature in their production environment.
Mm-hmm.
So they requested a feature. Maybe that feature is ready. The feature was ready 2 weeks ago. But all of a sudden, there's a surge in their usage of the portal, and they can't afford a 3-hour downtime. Let us assume it's going to take us 3 hours to update that feature for them. They now have to make a trade-off. Are we better off continuing at this pace, even though this thing is not fast enough? Are we better off shutting down now and losing those 3 hours to our business and then explaining to our customers that our service is down, but that will be up again in 3 hours? Who is going to make this decision? The business. And based on the decision that is made by the business, that is what will determine whether we release or not. But the point is, the work is ready. Tunde, do you get it now?
Okay.
The work is ready, and it is usable, and it is functional. But when we now release becomes another matter. That is why we are separating, having a minimum viable product. We are separating it. We call it decoupling. We decouple it. We are decoupling it from release management, because release management is a business decision. I really want to be sure people understand this.
In other words, Mary, you're saying that not every MVP will be used by the customer until after every other part of that website is ready.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. When you are in a technology environment, you need to respond, yeah? The reason I'm explaining it the way I'm explaining it is, like I said, I don't want to attach my explanation to a context. Because when you go out there, you are going to find yourself in different contexts. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Now, we are the development team. We have just been told to update our payment portal. There's a feature called payment. There's something wrong. Customers have complained that when they try to pay, it is slow. So we've been asked to update it. Remember, this is now a website that is up and running. This is an e-commerce website that is up and running. But customers have complained. And because customers have complained about using the payments system, a requirement has come to the development team to update that feature. It is the same development team that probably developed it for them before. Now they are saying, update this feature for us. Because you see, as a development team, sometimes you are not only developing new features, you are also updating old features. You are upgrading old features. Okay? So that requirement has come to us. We have now improved on it. Or maybe it's a totally new requirement, a new feature entirely, and we have developed it. Now, if you are my tailor and I bring my material to you and you have my measurements, okay, and you have made the dress, for me to come to you, it must be ready, right? So you call me and you say it's ready. So whether I come to collect it on Tuesday or I come to collect it on Wednesday or I come on Sunday to collect it, it doesn't matter. It is ready. The point is, if I come and knock on your shop door, will my dress be ready? Or will you be saying, oh, sorry, madam? Do you get my point? It is ready. That is so important. That dress is ready. That minimum viable product, that feature is ready. Now, whether it is now released, because I may take it immediately. One context could be, I want it immediately. As soon as you are delivering the MVP, it is going straight into production. Today, that is what is happening. But you see, I'm saying I don't want to tie my explanation into a context. Today, you are using Facebook, and they are releasing features into Facebook. You are using Netflix, and we call it continuous integration and deployment. We are going to come to it, but I want to take you in stages. I don't want to jump. Okay, I don't want to jump. So
Yeah.
your minimum viable product is ready, but it may not necessarily be released based on business decision. I hope it is clear now. This is a safe environment. If it's not clear, let me know. Tunde, are you okay now?
I think it's clear now. It's clear
it is clear now.
Really, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
It is ready. It is marketable. It is usable. But does it need to go into production now? That is a business decision. So in which case, it may go into production now. It may not. Okay? Cool. Let's move on. Now, I talked about having a story to tell. When you are an agilist, you must understand what is going on. There's what we call the annual State of Agile report. It comes out every year. I think this is the 14th year now. So if let me just, where's my cursor? Let me share my screen, new share. I opened one earlier on. Let me see, do I still have it? Thought I opened one earlier on. Anyway, let me copy it. Let me come out of there you go. Let me share my screen now. New share. There you go. Okay. So every year there's a report that is, shared, and it is as a result of surveys that have been carried out with hundreds, sometimes thousands of organizations. And the whole idea is to understand the state of Agile in organizations. So this has been going on for 14 years now. And this is a report you want to get familiar with, okay? It's telling you about what is trending. For example, I hope you can see my screen. I know it's not very big, it's small. I'm going to share the link with you anyway. It's talking about culture. It's talking about Scrum and SAFe. It's talking about how Agile empowers adaptability and visibility here. This is the 14th. So different things, the focus, it talks about the area of focus. For example, it could be telling you that organizations are now, really adopting DevOps.
We're losing you.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So it's just a report that talks about the trend in Agile, in DevOps.
We're still losing you.
Oh dear. But I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Maybe it's only me. We're still losing you.
Yeah, I can hear you clearly though.
Sylvia, can you hear me? Tunde, can you hear me?
Yeah, very clearly.
Okay.
Yeah, you too.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So this report is giving you an analysis of the Agile way of working in various industries. So when it comes out, I'll give you the link. Just try and see what is the new thinking. What are leaders looking for? Okay, what are the new trends? What are the new techniques out there? Just to be familiar, especially when you need to attend interviews. You never know when this information will come in handy. So it's important to know about this. So we also have it for DevOps. We have State of Agile report annually, State of DevOps report annually. And like I said before, you will get to understand what DevOps is towards the tail end of this training. Okay, so let me go back to my slide again. Let me know if you can see can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm going to skip this because I think we sort of have an idea now of what waterfall is all about and what Agile is all about. I wanted us to have this activity to say, okay, what's the difference between Agile and waterfall? Actually, let's do it. Let me get out of this mode so I can type. Unmute yourselves. Tell me if this was a short exam and you were to tell the difference between waterfall and Agile, what would it be? Unmute yourselves and tell me, and then I'll type it.
Linear. Waterfall, I'll say it's linear.
Agile is time boxed.
Agile is incremental and iterative. Agile, not waterfall, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Agile.
Incremental.
Yeah. And iterative. Iterative.
Yeah.
Then waterfall will be
plan driven.
I like that.
And agile is iterative.
Yeah, we have that.
Yeah.
What else? We covered some already today.
Waterfall.
Yeah, value at the end, isn't it? With waterfall.
That's correct. Yeah.
Waterfall is documentation oriented.
Agile, I would say customer collaboration.
Documentation oriented. Okay. Whereas agile is flexible.
People oriented.
Thank you.
Waterfall is planned driven approach to delivery.
We already have that.
Okay, all right. Oh, okay.
What else? I like people oriented. That's good.
Waterfall is rigid.
That's it.
Or sequential.
Whereas agile is flexible.
Yes. What else?
Well, I was going to say respond to change.
That's
agile
it.
response to change. Yeah, that's
Responsive.
flexibility, I guess.
That's flexible.
Yeah, that's flexible. Yeah, responsive. Less responsive.
There's change in waterfall as well. It's just that the change is a process.
Okay.
It's a very long process. It's faster
it is.
in agile.
Okay. We get the idea. Well done, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So now let's go back to the beginning. If you remember, I said, I believe we're sort of complete here now. So let's go back to the beginning. I want us to have a name. I want us to collaborate on that because like I said, I'm interested in the process. So now I'm going to share the Jamboard. Just bear with me. But I think one person is enough. So who's going to volunteer? And then I'll share the Jamboard and then that person will edit it. Dele, do you want to do it like you said before? I gave you.
Why not?
Okay, Dele, I'm going to share it now. So if you check I'm going to share it in the chat box. I'm sharing the link to the Jamboard in the chat box, Dele. I've just done that. Oh, sorry, I sent it to Tunde Tabi. Hold on. Sending it to everyone instead. Okay, I've just shared it again. Dele, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, click on it and make sure you have access. And then I want you to go to the second frame. The first frame, let me share my screen.
Okay, I have it.
You have it. The first frame is going to show you this. So if you go to the second frame, all you need to do is click on this. Click on the arrow to go to the second frame. And if you do that, you will be in the team name frame. Let me know if you can see that. That means, Dele, you have to come out. You have to come out of Zoom and actually go into that link on another tab. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see the team name.
Okay, you see it there. So you are there.
Can you see me moving it?
Not yet. Let me show you.
Should I share
yes,
with
I
you?
can. I can see it. I can see you moving.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So that's all we need. One person is enough. Okay, cool. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's always a good idea to have a team name, an inspirational name, a name that energizes you. Okay, so I need you guys to collaborate. What name do you want to call yourself? Because you're going to be one team. What's the name of this team? And like I said, I'm looking for a process here. So over to you guys. You need to unmute yourselves, obviously.
Santa.
Dele, you know how to do it now, to write out the names. All you need to do is pick a Post-it note.
Okay.
Yeah, pick a Post-it note. No. Who is that? Somebody is drawing a line. If you take a pencil, you will draw a line. Don't draw a line. Let me clean it.
No.
Don't draw a line. Take the Post-it note. The Post-it note is on the left-hand side in the tool section.
I did.
Okay, so take one. If you click on it, it will come up with it like a yellow box or a purple box.
Yeah,
okay.
I have it.
Okay, cool. So when somebody says something, then you just type it. So you guys fire away and Dele will do the typing.
Panther.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Panther.
Panther. P-A-N-T-A.
Oh,
No, P-A-N-T-H-E-R.
Okay,
Yeah.
P-A-N-T-A.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Very fast animal.
P-A-N-T. Okay, cool. Okay, another one. Somebody says panther.
Phoenix.
Phoenix, okay. And then, of course, you have to explain to each other why you are bringing out these names, because we want an inspirational name. What's the story behind these names? Okay, Phoenix, Dele. Somebody said Phoenix.
Good to go.
Unicorn.
Lotus.
I said good to go. Yeah.
I said Lotus. L-O-T-U-S.
Good to go. Lotus, Phoenix, Panther. What else?
Champions.
We are the champions, my friend. Dele, you can move it once you've put it there.
Aspiring to be agilist. So I'm thinking agile, aspire agile, AA.
Sylvia has been very creative here. Did you get that, Dele?
Yep.
Aspire agile.
What else? AA, wow. Okay, so go ahead. Please unmute yourselves and start talking about this.
Okay, I picked Lotus because that's a plant that inspires me. It's a plant that is regenerative, which we can align to being iterative and evolving. And it's also a plant that draws from the strength in the center, which is the strength within. So the members of the group are the strength of the team, right? So we draw from each other to ensure that projects are successful.
Please bear in mind you're not presenting to me. Let me just be sure you know that. You're not presenting to me. This is a self-organizing team now, deciding amongst themselves. So this has nothing to do with me. I'm just observing. Okay?
Okay, that's fine. Yep. So it's still the same point here.
Okay. Yeah. I said panther because panthers are very fast and powerful. The fastest animal on earth. So just relating to that, to the speed of agile.
I picked Phoenix. I picked the Phoenix because we're all being transformed here, and it represents strength and renewal. So we're going through this process of learning that has renewed or is renewing our thinking, and hopefully we'll be able to make an impact in wherever we find ourselves. So.
Okay, I'm not going to defend any name, but I'm going to try to knock off two.
No, before you knock off anything, we are not at the knock-off stage yet. Let everybody speak.
Collaboration. We have spaces.
We have good to go.
Psychological safety.
Exactly.
Psychological safety. Oh dear.
Go on.
Good to go. Okay, I guess that's self-explanatory.
Yeah, I suggested because I felt we're ready to be out there. We're ready to go. We're ready to do things the agile way. I guess that's why I chose that name, really.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So what next? I really don't want to interfere. I really want you guys to do this on your own.
But Champions hasn't actually explained the name. We've heard from Aspire Agile, but we haven't heard from Champions.
Who picked Champions?
Yeah, who picked it?
Champions, I did. It was a name that just came to me. I mean, just calling ourselves champions. It's very positive. You feel like I don't know how to explain it, but it's very exhilarating, very ready to go at 8 a.m. in the morning, ready to get agile going. Yeah, very positive. And also, I think I was reading sometime last week that behind all successful agile transformation, there is a champion. I'm sure Mary is aware of that. So yes. So,
yeah, you need champions, not even one. Yes. You need champions for agile transformations.
Yes.
And then there's one more to explain. Aspire Agile. What's the rationale behind that?
That is just because we are all aspiring to be agilist.
Okay.
So that just came to mind, really.
Okay.
Not with a great thought. It's just.
So what do you think you need to do next if everybody has explained the story behind their choices?
I have a quick question. So Champions in Agile is likable to sponsors in Waterfall, right?
Say that again.
Champions in Agile, having champions, is that likable to the sponsor in the Waterfall?
No. This is to help with the transformation. This is to help with buy-in.
Change management.
Champions are change agents. Yeah, champions are change agents, helping people to move from point A to B, helping people to change their mindset. There are people who help in the transformation to buy into the transformation and the new way of thinking and the new way of organizational culture.
Which we can also say is more like the backbone of Agile, I believe. Yes.
No, let's not get too hooked up on champions. Let's just know that it's just about change management.
Okay.
When you look at it in the context of transformation, it's about change management. Let's not confuse ourselves. But it can be a name, and the reason for which you want it to be the name of a team, it will be totally different. Yeah? So at this point, if you think you don't have any more names to add, what do you think you should be doing as a team right now?
Vote
to decide which one
we should be eliminating.
Eliminating, yes.
Okay, so go ahead and do that. Eliminate. In other words, you're sort of prioritizing. You probably want to start with prioritizing. Which one should be at the top? Which one is not as attractive? So go ahead and do that. And Dele, if you can just arrange it in that order, please, if you don't mind. That's one way to do it. Okay. So you can take a vote. Another way to do this is to take a vote.
That's the best way to go about.
So, and then we can let me show you one way to do this. Let's give everybody 2 dots. Okay, let's give everybody 2 dots. So Dele, take the pencil, leave everything where they are. Can you see this pencil here on the left hand side? Take that pencil. Okay. Now, starting with anybody, make sure you only give 2 dots. So you have 2 dots. So if you speak, you can tell Dele to put 1 dot on Lotus and another dot on Phoenix, or you can tell Dele to put your 2 dots on a particular name. So who wants to go? Sylvia, do you want to go?
Yeah,
sure. Have 2 dots.
Well, Aspire and Phoenix.
Okay, so Dele, one dot on Aspire. Just do like a round dot.
And are we voting for our own nomination?
Yes, of course you can.
Of course you can. Yeah, you like it. That's why you chose it.
Okay. Make the dot a bit bigger, or you can do it on the post-it or do it on the outside. Let me show you what I think you should do. I'm going to do it. Something like this, just like that. That's one dot there for somebody.
I can't see what you're doing. Okay.
No, you will see it. If you refresh,
okay.
if you refresh, you will see it. Or you can just put 1. Refresh your screen and you see what I've done.
Okay, I've seen it.
Okay, Sylvia said Phoenix and Aspire. I've just put like a, something there. So who wants to go next?
Okay, I say then Lotus.
Felicia says Lotus. Go ahead, Dele. Felicia says Lotus and what?
Phoenix.
Lotus and Phoenix for Felicia. And then I'll refresh my screen
Panther.
so that everybody can see it.
Okay, I say Panther and Phoenix.
Okay, Grace says Panther and Phoenix. Panther and Phoenix. Okay. Who is going next? Tunde, Shola?
Yeah, I'll go for Champions and Panther, please.
Champions and Panther for Donald. We call this dot voting, by the way, and it's a technique you're going to be using a lot. Dot voting. Panther and Champions is what Donald just said. Who is next?
I'll go for Champions and Champions.
Okay, so 2 dots.
And it's a positive vibe.
And Shola, you want your 2 dots to go on Champions?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Shola's 2 dots on Champions. Who hasn't spoken?
I haven't. Okay, Phoenix and Lotus.
Phoenix and Lotus.
Phoenix and good to go.
Who is that? Tunde. Tunde said Phoenix and good to go. Are we done? Who else?
For me, I would say my 2 dots goes to Phoenix.
Okay, 2 dots for Phoenix.
Phoenix is the code name for American president.
Dele one more. He said his 2 dots for Phoenix.
So, I did 2 for Phoenix.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. Who hasn't spoken? Dele, you yourself, you have to vote now.
Okay. Dele, Phoenix. And Panther.
Phoenix and what for you? Okay,
Panther.
Okay. Who hasn't voted? Have we covered everyone? Deji. Okay.
So I'll put my 2 dots on Champions.
Okay. His 2 dots on Champions.
We are the champions.
Yes. So has everybody voted now? Anybody else yet to vote? I think we've covered everyone, right? So if we do the visual counting, Phoenix is the name by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Phoenix has it. Exactly. So you are the Phoenix. Phoenix Agile, whatever. Phoenix is your name. Now, what's happened here? What's happened here? I mean, we know that we've just come up with a name, but what else happened?
Collaboration.
Agreement.
Agreement.
Teamwork.
We reached the decision.
The decision, yes.
Teamwork.
Teamwork, yes. You diverged. There's what we call diverging and then converging, which happens a lot in a brainstorming session or in a meeting like this. There's a lot of divergence. You know, when we are brainstorming, everybody's going in all directions. So it's purple, it's green, it's yellow, it's black. No, we should go east, we should go west. And we are a team that needs to collaborate. We need to eventually agree on something. Okay? Now, I heard you talking about psychological safety when Henry wanted to start kicking off. That was a good one. I'm happy you brought that in. That will be necessary when you're trying to engage in coming to a decision. It doesn't matter how small you think it is. It's still a decision. And we want everybody's voice to be heard. How did we achieve that? By saying, write it on a post-it note. In this instance, I know some people didn't write, okay? But in real life, when you're trying to facilitate a team that is trying to work on their requirements, trying to gather requirements with users, you want to hear everybody's voice. When we're in a meeting, you want to hear everybody's voice. You don't want some people to dominate. You know how some people love the sound of their own voice and they're the ones just dominating. You want to avoid, prevent that from happening. So as a Scrum Master, one of the things you're going to be helping, teams achieve or organizations achieve is productive meetings. Productive meetings. You are going to be the facilitator as a Scrum Master or coach. You are going to be the facilitator. So before you start a meeting, we're going to do a small session on having productive meetings. You want to make sure you are meeting with intent. You are meeting with intent. So for example, today, I knew we were going to come up with a name. So I have made sure I gave Dele access to the Jamboard ahead of time. I don't want a situation where, everybody doesn't have access to the Jamboard, for example. You have to think, what meeting are we having today? What visual management tools do I need in order to make this meeting effective? Which facilitation process or tools will help me help them to be effective? Because now you're there to hold the facilitation space to help facilitate this meeting. It can be a meeting for anything. It can be a meeting to brainstorm on personas. It can be a meeting for because of an obstacle or impediment they're having. It can be a meeting because of a risk that has just emerged. It can be a meeting for anything. So you need to know why we are meeting with intent. And of course, as a facilitator, you want it to be a productive meeting. So you are thinking ahead. What is the best way for me to facilitate this? Now, having said that, what is the best way for me to facilitate this? Remember, you are an agilist. Be ready to change your plan also. Planning is good, but plan may be useless. Okay? Planning is good, but plan may be useless. So, and that happens, that will happen to you so many times. You have thought of the meeting, they've told you are going to...
Is it me?
Say that again. Can everyone hear me? Move to another part.
I keep losing you.
Move to another part of your house. It could be your relation to where your whatever is your Wi-Fi, since everybody else can hear me. Okay. So facilitation is a big part of what you're going to do as a Scrum Master. Big. So we're not going to joke with facilitation here. And that's why I said you're going to be doing presentations and all that. So when you're facilitating, you are meeting with intent, you are planning ahead. In as much as you may have to jettison some of your plans or some of the ideas you had before. Why? Because you see, you have to respond to change. And then sometimes as a facilitator, you are guessing. You don't know what the room is going to be like. You don't know what the layout is going to be like. And as a facilitator, you're always looking for interaction. You're looking for an interactive session, things like that. You may need a whiteboard. You may have had to make this request ahead of time. Ask for post-it notes. Ask for white flip charts, whatever the case may be. And then when you get there, you may need to change your plan based on what you meet on the ground in terms of the layout. So bear that in mind. Planning is great, but you may need to jettison your plan. And then sometimes you do your plan and that is what you work with, okay? But there are some things that remain constant, like, am I carrying everybody? Is everybody being carried along? Is everybody having a say? Is their voice heard? Is there safety? Is somebody dominating this meeting? Things like that. We'll look more in depth into that. That is so important. I can't emphasize it enough. Okay. And visual management is always key. Now, what you have just done is what we call dot voting. It is just a technique. There are a lot of other stuff that I'm going to teach you. It's called dot voting. And then sometimes, depending on the nature of what you're voting about, you may need to aggregate. So imagine if we were doing our team agreement, which we will still come and do at some point. If we were doing our team agreement, imagine somebody saying trust, another person says trust. So let us assume we have 3 post-it notes with trust. What we do is we aggregate it. Dele, can you see what I'm doing now? Dele, you can come out and come back to the Zoom session.
Okay, I'm back in Zoom now.
Okay, thank you very much. So if this were our team agreement, and let us assume 3 people said trust, trust, trust. All you have to do, I'm assuming this is a paper with trust now, is just aggregate it. Okay?
Okay.
All these people said trust. You now start aggregating what people have said. So imagine if this was a brainstorming session and certain things look similar. Okay? That is what you will do first before you do the dot voting. Do you get it? You will first do what we call an aggregation. Okay? You align the things that seem to be talking to the same thing. Okay, everything here is about trust. You align them together, you aggregate them, and then eventually people now start dot voting based on the aggregation. Do you see what I mean? People now start voting based on the aggregation.
Right. Okay.
Sometimes that's the technique you will use, but again, it depends on what you are trying to achieve. Okay? It depends on what you are trying to achieve. This is where we're going to stop today. And then tomorrow we start getting into the body of Scrum, start getting into Scrum, looking at the ceremonies and taking it from there tomorrow. But as you can see, I've dealt a lot with the Agile space first. I've tried to talk about the, the kind of behaviors that we need in order for us to do Scrum well, okay, before jumping into Scrum, okay? We've tried to achieve that first because it's so important. It's not just about sprints planning, daily stand-up. It's beyond that. The framework itself is easy, but how do we implement it? It's people-oriented. Somebody said people-oriented when we're looking at waterfall versus Agile. It is people-oriented. And because it is people-oriented, it means there's a lot of interaction going on. And because there's a lot of interaction going on, there's potential for conflict. There's potential for conflict. And you and I know that when there's conflict, when the environment is toxic, no productivity is coming out from any head. None. We are all going to be blocked. We are all going to be blocked. So you see, these things are important. Any questions, please, for what we've covered today? So divergence, and then eventually we converge. And remember, when we talk about psychological safety, your name may not have been picked, but you are not bitter about it, are you? You're not angry about it, are you? And why wouldn't you be angry about it? Because you are in a safe environment. Because we have done this in a transparent way. Because everybody had 2 votes to vote. It wasn't as if some people had 3 votes, 3 dots, and some people had 2. It was transparent, it was open. And people explained the rationale behind the names. And eventually, this is a democratic process right here. I wish we could do this more in Nigeria with our politics. Okay? So this is very, very democratic. Okay? This was a very safe environment. We got it right. And we diverged with our thinking, but we eventually converged and we agreed on a name based on the process we went through. We used the dot voting technique. Okay? And this is so key. Imagine a really heated brainstorming session. I mean, this was just a simple naming convention. Imagine a really heated session where you are talking about risk, where people's work may be on the line. Do you get it? Where the business is losing money and we need to creatively think of how to save the business or our department. Imagine those kind of, high, tension, if you like, conversations and meetings. But still, we need to make sure there's safety, because if there's no safety, people will not come forward. Do you see what we are trying to achieve here? People will not be creative. People will be blocked if the environment is toxic. You will not leverage the intelligence, the experience people bring to that meeting. You will not leverage it if the environment is not safe. People will just shut up and say, if I talk now, the cuckoo won't answer me. Do you get it? That's why all these techniques are so important. And that is where you come in as a Scrum Master, because as a Scrum Master, you are neutral. You are neutral. You are very objective, even though you are trying to help them achieve the same goal, but you are objective in the process of helping them make that decision. I hope this makes sense. I hope this makes sense. Do we have any questions?
Yes, Mary, it does make sense. Just looking at it and probably trying to compare it with some sort of traditional meetings we hold, whether in politics, in our communities and things like that. And you really want to glean, you want to get information from people and how to carry out, you introduce the subject, the purpose of the meeting, and usually you present an agenda.
Yeah.
And people, you discuss the agenda and that sort of thing with the hope of coming to a decision regarding every agenda item. Does Scrum work in similar way, or it's a little bit different?
A meeting is a meeting, Donald. It doesn't matter whether you are doing waterfall, agile, whether it's politics, whether it's in
I
medicine.
know.
Yeah.
The difference it makes. Simple voting, I got a lot of problems with voting in many cases because people vote on subjects that they probably have very real little understanding on that subject.
That's why I said let's not attach it to any context.
All right, okay. So
let's not attach these things to a context, and there are different types of ways to come to a consensus. Right. And talking about agenda, nobody should start a meeting without an agenda. This is just to show you this technique, okay? Nobody should start a meeting without an agenda, and that is why you're there as a Scrum Master, okay? You teach them how to facilitate a good meeting. Do we have an agenda? First of all, why are we meeting? That's the number one question. Yep. Why are we meeting? Do we need to meet? Do we really need to meet? Or will it be sufficient just to send an email? Because we're trying to be efficient here. Don't forget that. We're trying to be efficient. So the first question is, do we really need this meeting? Because let's not forget, Agile already has its own meetings, and you don't want to increase meetings unnecessarily. We actually need people to have enough time to do their actual work. Because one of the problems you get in environments that are not efficient is people doing Agile say, we don't like this Agile. We don't like this Agile. There are too many meetings. We don't like Agile. There are too many meetings. We don't have enough time to actually do the work. So as a Scrum Master, as an Agile coach, you have to be very vigilant.
But Mary, compulsorily, you must have the daily...
you must have those. Don't worry. Forget about compulsory. We'll come to that. We'll come to that.
Yeah. Mary, you made a very good point. I mean, we are all here technically singing the praises of Agile, but developers are very difficult. They would say, I don't have time for these meetings.
Yeah.
Let's just get on with the work.
Yeah, you will get that. And that's why we are doing all this pre-whatever before we actually go into Scrum. You will get that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any more questions? Please, I spit it out. Like I keep saying, this is a safe environment. I'm here to answer your questions. If I don't have the answers, I'll go and find it for you. Because I don't always have the answers either.
Okay. So can hi, Mary.
Hello, Franca.
Sorry, I joined late anyway.
That's all right.
I had issues with Proximus. So I guess the team name's being chosen?
Unfortunately, or should I say fortunately, yes. And
no, yeah.
Phoenix.
Okay, Phoenix. Okay, all right, that's fine. No. I just wanted that information.
Yeah. And when you watch the video, you'll see how we came to that process.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Any other questions? Otherwise, let me release everybody so we can have our Saturday.
Mary.
Yeah.
You were to send us a PDF of 50 examples of companies affairs.
I will send that and the State of Agile link.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. Thank you.
And please, for those of you who were not here when we started, I did say, please don't forget, this is a partnership. This is a partnership. Do your bit. And your bit is to revise what we've learned here. It's to read extra documents that I push your way. Because honestly, when you start getting your teeth into this Agile thing, you will love it. You will love it. I want you to love it more than I love it. I love it. But I want you to love it.
I love it already.
And I want you to know even more than I do. And I want you to come here and start challenging me. Mary, you said this, but this is what I read. Mary, you said that, but this is what I read. Because these are some of the controversies you will find in Agile. So I want you to come back here and challenge me. I want you to come back and we can have an interesting conversation over something you read. Please, this is a partnership and you will love it. You will love it because I will take my time with you guys. Okay?
All right, Mary, just before you
don't be sorry when you ask questions.
I want you to say yes or no to this quote. Yeah. MVP may be ready, but not necessarily released because it's a business decision.
100% bam.
All right. Good day, everybody.
Have a lovely day.
Bye-bye now.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Lovely. Loved it.
Mary, can I have a quick
I'm trying.
Quick one.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Sylvia.
No, wait, I want to test something. So when everybody's gone, before you go.
Stop recording. Let me